Hello and very dear audience. This is Professor Dr. Ahmed. Our today's topic is ethnography. Using ethnography as a research method. Let us enter into it and see what we can find about it. So first of all, we've got the definition of ethnography. It says ethnography is a flexible research method that allows you to gain a deep understanding of a group's shared culture, conventions, and social dynamics. However, it also involves some practical and ethical challenges. Very simply speaking, we can say that it is actually a process through which the researcher enters into a community or a group's culture and conventions and tries to discover the whole associated things with it. The social dynamics, the conventions, the principle, the cultural matters. It may also be related to the ethical challenges. So, this is called as the ethnography. And in case of the applicability, here, where and how ethnography should be related. Ethnography is related to the social sciences most of the time, but it's not because it's not just the anthropology, the field with which ethnography is associated. It can also deal with the study of very far away and very unfamiliar type of cultures, old traditional cultures as well. And it can also enter into specific communities. That researcher can also do research on his own community's culture as well. The examples of this type of research can be, for example, if we try to discover what is the culture of football fans, how do they behave, what are their targets, and what are their feelings, at that time we may consider this community as a target community. It may be the call center workers, it may be the police officers as well. So, in that way, one can very easily see that this research is applicable on most of the communities. So, ethnography is concerned with the groups and the communities, not with any other type of people. There are certain approaches to ethnography research. For example, three basic approaches. Number one, open versus closed setting. Sometimes we like to share the things with the people, and we do not try to hide the things at that time. The open settings are used, and sometimes we don't want to do that at that time. The closed settings are used. Overt versus covert ethnography. Ethnography research can also be overt, can also be covert. For example, when it is overt at that time, who is researching, what is being researched, the community is informed altogether, and the researchers enter into them. But in case of covert research, sometimes it's not clear to them what is being done. And in the same way, there are active and passive observation as well. So there are three approaches. The basic principle behind all these approaches is that if you are trying to do something which you don't want the people to know, and when the report is written, possibly at that time you may be trying to let them know, but before that you don't try to let them know. And on the other hand, it is quite open, it is quite free, that everybody should know what is being done with their community or what the researcher wants to do. Uh, Definitely, there is a kind of access required most of the time when you enter into this type of research. Gaining access is really a difficult job into any community. So for that purpose, it is good to attend the games with them. The games or the teamwork which they are doing at that time, the one can involve into them very easily. Similar is the case where that we if we start talking about the fans of this community, and at that time also we can engage with them very easily. Or if these things are not working, we can contact the management of that community in order to gain access, or we can ask the permissions for them. But in case of covert ethnography, it may be a very difficult kind of thing. So, if the researcher is not finding permission, is not able to join the community, he should find out certain alternative methods to join that community. It's a very sensitive research method because if anybody comes to know that we are trying to do something wrong with their culture, or we are going to give some wrong image about their culture, the people can be very unhappy as well. So that is why one is required to do multiple efforts to enter into any community in order to gain access, in order to look at their culture, or in order to do research about them. For this purpose, it's one of the ways to engage with the informants. The informants are the primary points of contact for the researcher. In this case, the researcher does not himself go direct in the community and involve the community, but rather he engages himself with the people who may provide them information. These informants inform him, but also facilitate the access to the community for the researcher. It becomes a type of easy thing for him then to do so. These informants help us assisting or understanding what are the groups people there. These people can be from a very high position or from a common member of the community. In both cases, the division should be done because the common member may not be knowing the high position people, and high position people may not be having good access or good knowledge about the low position people of their community. So that is why the informants should be from both the sides. But before going to that, one should get a lot of advice from here and there so that one may be able to make a right choice of the informants. And the informants' bias, their own personal inclinations may also be reduced. For this purpose, a lot of advising is required. And so one should not have just one type of one kind of informant. One should have as much as possible. So multiple informants are preferred in case of ethnography research. Ethnography research, when it is conducted, certain modes are definitely to be taken, and one of the mode is to take the field notes. These field notes can be taken, for example, first of all, by observing the group from inside. Once the researcher enters into that, he may be able to find what the people are doing, what their behaviors are, what their reactions are, what their responses are. The person is able to record that. These field notes will help him in writing the report. Field notes finally are written in the ethnography report, definitely. So field notes should be taken very carefully. Usually these field notes are taken by hand because a computer or a mobile phone can set certain triggers which will not be helpful for them. At the maximum what the researcher can do, we can make a recording, alternative source as a recording. All important data, everything, every phenomena which is happening, which is observed should be recorded. Whatever conversation has been had, what type of body language responses can be there, and which phrases are frequently used by these people, and the differences and similarities of these people regarding their customs, etc. That should also be recorded. So field notes could be very helpful, but they are to be taken very carefully in a very sensitive way, in a very comfortable way also. When you write your ethnography report at that time, you need to take care of certain things. For example, after observation are concluded, there's still the task of writing them. So it's the most important thing here now. Once the data has been collected, this entails going through the field notes and formulating convincing accounts of behavior and dynamics. So definitely field notes are very helpful in this regard, and researchers should not go beyond or shouldn't remain less than these field notes. So that's why I should do that. So the report which the ethnographer is to prepare, it has got some structure. For example, it's just the structure like an article or a thesis, or it can be an entire book. Should have some introduction and the conclusion basically. In introduction, one can describe lots of historical background, focus on the themes, and then the traditional structures also are there. But basically, the introduction, comprehensive introduction should be provided, and then the method of conducting the research may be described, results and discussion, and after that, the conclusion may be described. So that's the basic structure of the ethnography research. Well, there are lots of benefits of ethnography or ethnographic research method, especially because the researcher has the very direct access to the cultural practices of a community, so he's able to see with his own eyes and can interact with these people. As a result, he is able to get the first-hand information. He can find what the behaviors and people interactions of the people are, and in the same way we can see that the researcher can be directly immersed into the community and the culture. So that's why it's very direct access is there. That direct access is able to provide the research authentic information, and moreover there are spontaneous actions and reactions, and that is why it's very easy to find what these people are doing, and it's very authentic as well. Moreover, this one is very open and flexible method. Researcher can approach to the people in many ways. It doesn't have any theory or hypothesis preset, because of which the researcher has more freedom to proceed further. It provides us a rich narrative account of the people about a specific culture, and we are able to explore the every side of the group and able to provide this information for the future benefit as well. So in this way, it has got number of benefits. It may be having certain disadvantages, but benefits are more as compared to disadvantages. Research. Same is the case as with any other thing. It has got certain disadvantages as well. It's a very long process because the personal observation are required there. At least the process can be from weeks to months also. It's very much challenging also because it requires very careful planning. There are risks for the bias of the researcher, and it involves certain subjective interpretation of the researcher as well. So different advantages are also there. One is required to maintain a certain distance between the people who are being researched upon and the researcher. Most of the time this distance becomes very difficult when one is very close to that. And there are certain then ethical considerations considerations as well, that how much one should reveal and how much one should not reveal. It puts the researcher in difficulty. And reporting and writing that report again becomes a difficult thing. So there are certain disadvantages of this type of research as well. Overall, one can say that ethnography is a very good way of conducting research. First-hand information is received, one is involved with that. Knowing of the culture, understanding the people, and ultimately deriving results is definitely very much helpful everywhere. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video.